morning, it's September the 16th, 2015. Welcome to Real Estate Tips. I'm Wayne Russell, instructor, broker associate with RE/MAX Southwest, Sugarland, Texas. Most of the information we discuss comes from realtors, newspaper articles, magazines, and emails from different sources. The material provided here is for information purposes only. It is not intended and should not be considered as legal advice for your particular matter. Well, before I get started, there's a new soft drink that just came out this past weekend, and I want to introduce you to it. It's called Coca-Cola, and you can have your Coke with a Superstar, or you can have your Coke with a Grill Master. So anyway, if you're thirsty, have a Coke. Anyway, just having a little fun here. Before I get started on my outline, I just, in the newspaper, I know that you all read the business page and the front page, but it says home sales are slowing in the area. And so, especially in the Cinco, it appears to be in the Katy area too, along the energy corridor area. So, this was in the Chronicle on September the 10th, Thursday. So, anyway, just wanted to share that with you. And so, I guess I'll jump to the my outline. There's going to be some changes made. I'm going to just hit some of the minor changes in the different addendums and contracts, and then I'll hopefully go over it in more detail in about 2 weeks. So anyway, it's changes to the ranch contract starting September the 1st, notice of water level fluctuations, hydrostatic test, proposed promulgated contract changes update, staging a home, who can be an unlicensed assistant call, 7 rules for using the term realtor in your ads, what a temporary lease says about rekeying doors, FHA inspections versus home inspections, and what's PVC pipe and code of ethics. One of the agents in my class always wanted me to discuss code of ethics, so I usually just touch on that just a little bit. I won't say anybody's name, but I think her first name starts with a P. Anyway, no changes to ranch contract starting September 1st. Has the ranch contract changed? Someone told me that the only change is you have to add statement. Do not sign if there's a separate written agreement for payment of broker's fee. Is that correct? If it is, when do we make that change? Yes, that is correct. And the ranch contract and modification will most likely be adopted on an emergency basis, mandatory for use starting September the 1st, 2015. Of course, y'all probably don't deal in ranches. You probably deal, most of you deal in residential properties. And there are some agents in our office that deal in commercial properties, but most will be dealing in residential. So you probably will be affected by the ranch contract, but you never know. If you have a friend that's interested in selling their ranch, well, you know, ask someone that's dealt in ranches or acreage. I know that Robert's dealt in it, and I've dealt in acreage, so try to market the property if you can. Anyway, has TREC changed the residential condominium contract resale? I talked about this last session. If it has, what is the change and when does it take effect? Yes, new contract form 3011 was presented at the TREC meeting on August the 17th. It's also a change to the condominium resale certificate pending adoption. It will require the HOA to provide a balance sheet for the organization. It will become effective whenever TREC says it becomes effective. And is it true that TREC has proposed changes to seller's disclosure? What else is new? You know, seller's disclosure probably was 1 page, now it's 3 pages. It'll probably be 5 pages long. 5. Right. So they just keep adding more things, just like the contract. Anyway, is it true that the TREC has proposed changes to the seller's disclosure of property condition? If it is, when does it become effective? There's one change in the seller's disclosure form. It is disclosure that the property is located in a groundwater conservation district or a substance district. It becomes effective on January the 1st, 2016. By the way, if you are handling properties, especially around, say, the Conroe area or around the lake, I want to bring this to your attention. Statutory notice of water level fluctuations contract language. House Bill 1665, enacted by the 84th Legislature, adds sections 5.019 to the Property Code. I'm going to let you read the rest of that paragraph on your own. Until revised contract forms addressing the statutory requirement are adopted by the Commission, license holders may insert the following language in special provisions. Paragraph of a contract of a property adjoins such a body of water. Like if you're in Lake Livingston or Lake Conroe. I remember we went up there a couple of years ago, and the canals, you know, they're supposed to have access to the lake. Well, there was no water in the canals. I mean, the water had subsided, and several feet, so I guess they had some complaints, and that's why they're putting this information, because they didn't disclose it when the property owners bought the property that was on the canals. Anyway, the water level of the impoundment of water adjoining the property fluctuates for various reasons, including as a result of an entity lawfully exercising the right to use the water stored in the impoundment, drought, or flood conditions. So, I mean, you're not close to Lake Conroe, but you may get a listing there, and you're licensed in the state of Texas to market properties in the state of Texas. Oh, great. The next one is hydrostatic test. Hydrostatic test is the way in which pressure vessels such as pipelines, plumbing, and gas cylinders, boilers, and fuel tanks can be tested for strength and leaks. The test involves filling the vessel or pipe system with liquid, usually water, which may be dyed to aid visual leak detection and pressurization of the vessel to specified test pressure. I'll let you read the rest on your own. The part there at the bottom, they are then requalified as regular using the proof pressure test, which is called modified hydrostatic test, testing of pressure vessels for transport and storage of gases. It's very important because such containers can explode if they fell under pressure. And this is some information, additional information here. Just some of the, just some pictures of high pressure water to cylinder, in regards to the hydrostatic test. And then the next one is the testing frequency, the pipeline testing. I'll let you read that on your own. I want to get to proposed promulgated contract changes update. The Commission has proposed changes in the following forms recommended by the Broker Lawyer Committee. Trick Form 912, unimproved property contract. 1 to 4 family, new home contract, farm and ranch contract, seller financing addendum, residential condominium, condominium resale certificate, notice of buyer's termination of contract, amendment to contract, third-party financing, and OP-H seller's disclosure of property condition. We usually don't use this one, but I just wanted to show it to you what it looks like, and I'll also show you the one that we use in the next pages, but wait till we get through. Red line versions of the proposed forms can be found under recently proposed rules. Also at the top, the new paragraph 6E10, the notices of water fluctuations, we just covered that, is added to the new statutory notice requirement regarding the fluctuation of level of certain impoundments of water that adjoin a property. I don't think that most of your agents in the Sugar Land area will be affected by it. I don't think there's any large lakes like Lake Conroe or Lake Livingston, but I mean, just in case you have some listings you want.
What about Oyster Creek?
That's a creek,
So it has to be a lake?
It has to be within 5, as there's a requirement of X number of acres or water, so I don't think that the creeks would, I don't think you have to worry about creeks. But it's a good question.
It's levied, it won't really matter.
What's that?
We have levy control in Oyster Creek.
Right.
It always stays the same height. It could flood, but anything floods.
Paragraph 7A, property condition access inspection of utilities is amended to add provision that hydrostatic testing must be authorized by the seller in writing. We just covered that. Paragraph 9, closing is amended to add a provision allowing a 10-day extension of closing. We're going to go back to where we had this part for the lender to extend the closing. And these are contracts that we had several years ago. Paragraph 9, closing is amended to add a provision allowing a 10-day extension of closing if the buyer's lender is required to provide additional disclosures mandated by the TILA-RESPA Integrated Disclosure Rule. Paragraph 9B5 is amended to conform the language with the statutory change to property code, noting that the buyer has to acknowledge to a tenant that the buyer has acquired the property and is responsible for return of security deposit. Paragraph 14, casual loss. Paragraph 18D, escrow damages. Paragraph 23, termination option is amended to require at 5 p.m. A lot of times, on these, the termination, your option period would end, well, was it 5 o'clock, is it 8 o'clock, or was it 12 midnight? So I think it was 12 midnight, the way that someone mostly interpreted the option period ending, but now it's 5 o'clock.
Right now? Effective now? Right now?
Well, soon. These are proposed changes.
So we don't know when.
We'll find out soon. When, I tell you what, sometimes in the back, the girls make copies of these contracts of the ones we already have. So if you are pulling up zip forms and there's a change, pull out the old ones and put one in there and spend a nickel a copy on each page, so that when they start making copies, it's the new contract. So we try to help everybody in the office. Okay, where was I? Let's see. Okay. Prorations of rollback taxes in farm and ranch unimproved property contract farms amended, provided that the assessment imposed due to the seller's use or change in use of the property or the seller's responsibility. In other words, a lot of your ranchers and they have ag exemptions, and so your ag exemptions, when you start paying taxes, they're like, let's just say it's $5,000 a year for taxes. That's very little, but it goes down to about 10% of that. So on the ag exemptions, it's only about 10%. So they get a real break when you have ag exemptions. But when you sell, you may have to roll back 3 years of what they could have owned or could have paid during those 3 years if they have the rollback taxes. So when you're selling acreage or selling ranches, you know, there could be some rollback taxes, and the seller asks you, well, how much is it going to cost me to sell my property? Well, you may calculate closing costs, but and title policies and proration of taxes, but your proration may be wrong, because they could roll back 2 or 3 years. So be careful on acreage, and when they change. Now, if they're going to buy it and keep it the same, there probably may not be. I mean, he's going to buy a ranch, he's going to use it for the same use, there may not be any rollback taxes. But let's just say the developer comes in and wants to change the use of the property, then the seller may have rollback taxes involved. New paragraphs 2D of the condominium contract form and the condominium resale certificate. The seller's disclosure that was mentioned in this one, from Trek, it's OPH, and I really doubt that y'all use these seller's disclosure, but I just want to show it to you. If you ever see it, it's, you know, you can use it, but it's this one that they talked about on Trek, the OP-H, which is approved by the Real Estate Commission, Trek. But usually on our seller's disclosure, we have the Texas Association of Realtors TAR 1406. Y'all use that one?
Yes.
Is that the one you use? Because that's the one I use. And they're going to probably make changes. It's this change is just part of life on these seller's disclosure, addendums, and contracts. So you've got, this one right here is only 3 pages long, and the one that we normally use on TAR is 5 pages long, page 105 and so on. So I'd probably keep using the TAR 1406. Next is the staging, make a home sell for more. There's different stagers. I haven't seen any men, but mostly women stage the homes and they bring in furniture. And when there's a vacant house, it might be advisable to stage the home and spend a little extra money, because you'll get more money for that house rather than selling it vacant. I think that staging is so important. If you want to increase the price that buyers offer for your listing, staging the home might be the way to do it. According to NAR's recently released 2015 Profile Homes Staging Report, 32% of buyer agents surveyed said staging home can increase the amount buyers are willing to offer by 1 to 5%. 16% said it can increase offers by 6 to 10. So I mean, if you're going to spend from $500 to $1,000, it might be worth it, you know, spend that money to stage. According to the report, the median dollar value to stage a home is $675, or 62% of the seller agents offer the service to their sellers. So I assume it appears to me that the listing agent is paying for this, but maybe you can get the owner to pay for the staging of the home. If you want to give staging a shot, but do it on a budget, start with these 5 tips. Try a theme for each room. Remove personal items. Rework items a homeowner already has rather than making new purchases. Paint the walls neutral colors. You know, I've seen sometimes I'll go into a house and they got, you know, purple for one bedroom and blue for the other bedroom, and try to keep it neutral colors throughout. You know, and look at some of your model homes. Most of those are just, a lot of them are just neutral colors, most of them. I know there's exceptions to the rule. Get a third party to assess changes if you're concerned about a seller having a negative reaction to your ideas. And who could an unlicensed assistant call? If you have an unlicensed agent and you want him to do some telemarketing or cold calling or knocking on doors, I don't think it's a good idea. I think you just have to do it yourself. And now once he gets licensed, then it's a different story. Can an unlicensed assistant call potential buyers and sellers and make an appointment for a licensed agent to talk to the prospect? No. This is often referred to as telemarketing, and only a licensed real estate broker or salesperson may make such calls. Both the Real Estate License Act and TREC rules make it clear that all solicitation work must be conducted by licensees. 7 rules for using the term realtor in your ads. You know, sometimes you can get fined for using the wrong, so be careful about your advertisements. Anyway, are there guidelines for how I can use the term in my ads? Yes, if you remember of NAR, you can use the term realtor in your ads as long as you follow these guidelines. Only use the term in connection with your real estate business. Use the term realtor to identify yourself. As a member of NAR, use the term realtors in connection with your name or firm name. The term should always appear in the capital letters and should be followed by a federal registration symbol. Use punctuation to separate your name or firm name from the term realtor. Do not hyphenate, abbreviate. Do not use descriptive words to modify the term realtor. And what a temporary lease says about rekeying. In other words, let's just say you're selling a house and the buyer wants to move in prior to closing. When a temporary lease says about rekeying doors, my client accepted an offer on his property from a buyer who asked to move in 30 days before closing. I don't recommend this because sometimes the buyer will take possession of the property and on a temporary residential lease and see things that maybe the inspector missed or that the seller didn't disclose, and so they say, well,
Financing blows out.
Yeah.
right, or the financing, have problems. So I really don't recommend for buyers, even though the house is vacant, to move in prior to closing. But if this happens, then they use the buyer's temporary residential lease as part of the contract. Will the seller have to rekey the exterior doors before the buyers move in, since he will be acting as their landlord for that period? No. Paragraph 22 of the buyer's temporary residential lease explains that the requirements of section 95.152 of the Texas Property Code is relating to security devices, including rekeying of exterior doors, do not apply to residential lease for a term of 90 days or less. And I've added right here the buyer's temporary residential lease, and on page 2, item 22, it says security devices, the requirements of the Texas Property Code relating to security devices do not apply to a residential lease for a term of 90 days or less. So the buyer wants to change the keys, I guess so, but it's not at the seller's cost. Okay, I know y'all sold homes on FHA, and I want to go over this on FHA because a lot of times buyers think that the FHA appraiser is the inspector, but it really isn't. If you're going to go, if a person's going to go FHA, they have a smaller down payment, but in addition to the appraiser, have an independent inspector come and take a look at the property, because the appraiser is going to miss a few items. They're going to check the main things. If there's any lender-required repairs, who's responsible for lender-required repairs? Neither party. The home I'm buying just had an FHA inspection, and the inspector said that everything is okay. This concerns me because I have noticed little cracks in the walls and the window corners, and the ceiling fan in the living room is crooked, and I can feel a draft at the front door, even when it's closed. If the inspector did notice these problems, I'm wondering if he even checked the safety of the fireplace or the electrical wiring. Aren't FHA inspectors supposed to check those things? FHA inspections are performed when mortgage loans are to be insured by Federal Housing Administration. Unfortunately, many home buyers assume that the FHA inspections are identical to home inspections. Actually, FHA inspections would be better understood if they were called FHA appraisals for what they truly are. The purpose of an appraisal is to determine market value, not to investigate the property for inherently defects. And unfortunately, the federal government confused the situation by requiring FHA appraisers to perform limited inspections for which individual appraisers may or may not be truly qualified. As a result, many home buyers and even some real estate agents make the mistake of foregoing a home inspection in lieu of an FHA appraisal. The result of this confusion is that many property defects remain undisclosed and undiscovered until after the close of escrow. In other words, after closing. The defects you have noticed so far are probably not significant. Many homes have hairline stucco cracks at doors and window corners. In most cases, these cracks are not related to serious structural problems. The crooked ceiling fan probably needs adjustment, and the drafty door probably needs adjustment, or a new set of weather seals. However, most homes have various electrical, plumbing, and roofing and heating issues that can be determined by a qualified home inspector. So, you know, I'd say that most of your conventional loans, you'll have an inspector, but sometimes you have an FHA loan and you're trying to save some money because it doesn't cost anything. So, but I would suggest to the buyer, get it inspected. Now is the time to find highly qualified inspector to provide the kind of disclosure you should have gotten before buying this home. Next is, y'all have heard of PVC pipes, so I just wanted to tell you what it means, just for information purposes. Polyvinyl chloride. PVC pipe is made from plastic and vinyl combination material. The pipes are durable, hard to damage, and long-lasting. They do not rust, rot, or wear over time. For that reason, PVC piping is most commonly used as water systems, underground wiring, and sewer lines. You know, because you see that in construction of, well, new construction and up construction of homes. So just want to let you know, if someone says, what does PVC mean? Well, you got it. Polyvinyl chloride. I know you're going to know the answer to that when someone asks you. Anyway, last but not least, as I said, I like to just hit a little bit of code of ethics in each session. Filing an ethics complaint. Who can file an ethics complaint? Anyone, whether a member of the public or realtor. The ethics complaint process. The process of ethics complaint is a two-step process. First step is review and complaint by the grievance committee. The grievance committee believes the complaint involves potential violation. The second step is hearing before a panel of professional standards committee. When reviewing ethics complaints and arbitration requests, the grievance committee acts as initial screening or review committee. The grievance committee is comprised of realtors appointed by the association president. Grievance committee in reviewing ethics complaints. The grievance committee looks to many procedure issues such as whether the realtor responded as a member of the local association, whether the complaint was filed in the established time limits. The complaint is appropriately filed, correct parties and articles. The grievance committee next determines whether there should be a possible code of ethics violation. The next paragraph, an ethics complaint must be filed within 180 days of when the facts of the complaint could have been known by the complainant in the exercise of reasonable diligence. And in the determination, the grievance committee asked if the allegations, if the complaint are taken as true or are they true on their face. Is it possible that violation of the code of ethics occurred? The answer is yes. Then the complaint is forwarded to a hearing panel of professional standards committee. And if the answer is no, then the complaint is dismissed. Well, y'all have any questions? Anyway, I wanted to thank you very much for coming. We had a little short session today, so look forward to a couple of weeks when we'll go into more detail about the changes in contracts. Thank you very much.